Hi everybody, Judge Gudge here, and we're going to be doing a basing tutorial, 25mm. We're going to be recreating or creating a base similar to the one I did for the Fire Warrior. So this is everything we're going to need. Obviously we need a miniature to put on top of the base. I always like to craft a base for a miniature. I don't like creating a random base and then sticking a miniature on top of it. I like to do it specifically for a specific miniature. So this is the one we're going to be using today. Now these are all the bits and pieces. So we've got cork tile. It's actually a drinks mat I got from a local store. I've got some 1/32 scale bricks which I got from Base Crafts, but you can get them on eBay and other places as well. They're very nice. They're quite small, got really flat surface, nice and smooth, sharp edges as well. So I do like those. They're very good. Some super glue, some water to mix with the milliput, and we'll be using some Vallejo grey pumice to add a little extra detail to the base. Need a sculpting tool and a craft knife. So let's get on with this. Right, so here we are. We have our base and some cork and the model we're going to put on it. So I'm just going to get a rough idea of the size of cork I want. So I use the model to gauge how much I need for his feet and everything. I want to leave a bit of a gap here at the front, just so I can add a little interest to the base. I don't see the point in elevating the height evenly. It doesn't add anything to the miniature really, and so I like to have a gap so I can add something there to just add some interest. So we'll just break it up, take off the outside edge so it's very irregular, and I'll just size that so it fits on completely and leaves me enough space to work at the front. Okay, so we've got the cork the size we want it to be, so we'll just put some super glue on it and attach it to the base. You've got a couple of seconds to move it around to get it in the perfect position. If you want a bit more time, then you could always use a PVA glue or something like that. That has a longer drying time. But I usually just use super glue. So just remove any little bits and pieces off it, because they'll only get broken off while we're working on it. And just make sure he's got a nice sturdy footing on the base. And now we can proceed to the next stage. Okay, so I'm just going to add a layer of super glue to the cork. Then we can use that to lay out our brick tiling on the floor. I'm using tweezers now to lay out the pattern I want on this base. Just being careful not to get any super glue on my fingers. I find it's a good idea to do a search on the internet to find reference pictures of paved areas and things like that, so that I can see a real world pattern and I can follow that. Because if you use patterns people see in their everyday lives or have seen it elsewhere, it creates that image in your mind of this is a real thing. That's the way things are laid out. So we'll just lay these out and make sure they're all stuck on nicely. It's looking a little angular at the moment, but we'll sort that out afterwards. We're going to add a couple of bricks to the front here, just to create an image that the floor has collapsed and broken away, as this is a war-torn area. So I've just cut a brick there with a craft knife. It's very easy to do, and that will make it look like it's coming up out of the ground, and it's, you know, buried in the dirt rather than just some brick sort of just plonked there. So now that that's done, we can start weathering up the bricks, because as I said, they're too angular, it's too neat. So just take your craft knife and being careful to cut away from yourself, just chip off the corners of the bricks. Now we've broken one of the bricks here, but that's not a problem. We can just stick a little bit of glue on there and glue it right back on, and the crack in the brick will work to our advantage. This will make it look more natural, more like a broken, damaged, war-torn battlefield. So we'll just stick that back in, and we'll actually put it at a slight angle so that it accentuates the crack slightly. Okay, I'm just having a look around in the little bits and pieces that were broken off while we were chipping, and I'm just going to take one of the little chunks that broke off and put a bit of super glue on there and glue that onto the base as well, because it's nice to have different sizes of debris on the base. The different scales of bits and pieces help blend it in and make it look more realistic. If everything's all the same scale and all the same size, then it looks very artificial. So we can see now that it's pretty much done. It fits onto the bricks quite nicely, and it's looking pretty good. So on to the next stage. What I've got here is an old bolter that's of no use, so I'm going to use that to add a bit of decoration to the front of the base and create a bit of interest. You could use any bits and pieces you can raid from your bits box, a skull, a shoulder pauldron, anything, just to add a slight battlefield feel to it. Now I'm just shaving a bit off here to create a flat edge so we can get a nice bond between the bolter and the base. So I'm using a plastic glue, as it's plastic on plastic, and that will give us a nice strong bond. And I've shaved it at a slight angle so that the bolter is sticking up at an angle. I don't want it just sticking straight up. That would look very false and would ruin the aesthetics of the base. So I'm just going to use some tweezers now just to hold it in position and give it a few seconds to set. Now I'm going to use some milliput to fill in the gaps and blend the base together a bit. So milliput is a 2-part epoxy putty. So there's 2 bars in the pack. So you just take cut as much as you want off, equal amounts off each one, and then just mix those together until you have a nice uniform colour. Once you've got it mixed, I like to keep mine on a little piece of plastic with some water, just to keep it easy to work with. So we'll just take little chunks and just apply that into the gaps, and this will end up looking like dust and dirt and very small rubble that just fills in everywhere. So it's just a case of taking small bits off with your tool and applying them and pushing it about until you've filled it in and removed any edges. You're going to have an edge where the cork is glued to the plastic of the base, for example, so we don't want to see that, so we'll blend that out. Where the brick is glued to the base, again, you're going to have an edge, we don't want to see that, so we'll build it up around the brick and around the bolter, just trying to hide where things have been cut and where things have been glued, and stop them looking like bits that have been glued onto a base. What I've got here is a GW stippling brush, and it's got nice stiff bristles and is ideal for adding a bit of texture to the milliput we've put onto the base. Now when you're applying the milliput with a wet tool, this will leave a reasonably smooth surface, which is not what I want here. I want this to look like dirt and rubble and dust and everything, so it needs a bit of texture. So just going over it lightly with the stippling brush will give us the texture it needs. We're now going to use the Vallejo grey pumice. This is a acrylic resin with ground pumice stone in it, and I find is very useful for adding a little more detail, and again all these little details just aid in blending everything in. So we'll just take a little bit on a toothpick and just apply it around edges, again where the milliput's meeting things, or wherever we think there might be a little bit more of a build up. So where bricks are broken, you're going to have slightly bigger chunks of dirt and brick and what have you. So just concentrate adding little bits here and there, and just anywhere that you think needs a little more detail to help disguise what it actually is. And so here we have the finished base. You can see all the milliput there, textured up and blending in all the different components of the base and stopping them from looking like what they actually are. You need to try and blend the bricks into the cork and the cork into the base. We don't want very obvious layers. So here it is, two colour primed. So it's been black primed and then white primed overhead, and you can see there how things are blending in together and not looking obvious, and hopefully looking quite natural. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you found it of some use. I'm planning on doing a 40mm slightly bigger, more ornate base tutorial soon. So thanks for watching, and please remember to like, comment and subscribe. Thanks a lot.